Andrew Tate's diet is 15 cups of coffee, 3 cigars, and 1 meal per day. And this is why it's fantastic.
I have about 10 to 15 cups of coffee a day and 2 or 3 cigars a day, and I only eat once a day.
Clearly, most people won't be able to operate on this diet, but I'm going to be breaking down why it works for him.
Nicotine and caffeine are what I run on. Nicotine is a super drug.
Super drug.
100%. If I smoke and drink coffee all the time, I feel hungry, which motivates me, and I feel energetic. It's energetic hungry. That's how I like to feel when I'm working. I want to be hungry. If I eat, I'm tired.
What is he referencing here? He's talking about something that I like to call the Fucht phenomenon. Eating triggers something called the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows down the heart rate in order for you to digest food and absorb the nutrients. In dum-dum terms, you've just finished lunch. Not only do you feel full, but you now feel lethargic, sleepy, and tired, which is often known as the afternoon slump. So why is it that you always feel full after eating? Well, it was the food that did it. So I was looking into this a little bit further, and it appears that people also feel tired after eating because their body's producing more serotonin. Serotonin is the chemical that regulates mood and sleep cycles. On top of that, tryptophan is an essential amino acid found in protein-rich foods like chicken, eggs, cheese, and fish. Tryptophan helps your body produce serotonin. So oftentimes when you're eating a meal rich in carbohydrates and protein, you may also feel sleepier because you have an uptake in tryptophan from the protein and increase in serotonin. So basically, it's going to be very dependent on the foods that you eat during the day to why you will feel sleepy, tired, lethargic from eating. And this is the main reason why I tend to fast. I swallow the frog in the morning, I get my main tasks done, I then train, I'll then do some more tasks. Like today, I shot a podcast, I'm shooting this YouTube video. I'd be up for 6 hours probably before I have anything to eat. And that's because I need to get my job done before I start eating and feeling lethargic, because if I don't do anything else in a day, at least I've got the essential things done that I need to be productive before eating. Now, a lot of the time you'll be told in the fitness industry to build muscle and be strong as fuck, you need to be having a meal every 2 to 3 hours, which is absolute bullshit.
I had a blood test when I was in hospital for all these things, and my testosterone level, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on male hormones because I'm not. I don't understand them. I don't know what measurement it's in, but it was between 9 and 27 is the testosterone level, the mark. It can be between 9 and 27, the normal range. I've never taken a steroid in my life. I don't inject anything. I don't take any pills, nothing. And I was 32. I was above the normal scale, and I'm 36 years old. It's supposed to be going down. So whatever I'm doing, I'm sticking to it.
We'll often look at people and go, well, you look healthy, but what is really going on inside? And we have to take into consideration people who are taking bloods, taking biomarkers, taking metrics that are coming back okay and going, okay, well, this is working for you. You are a high operating male. You are a high status man. If this diet is working for you, you do you. This is not me saying go and copy his diet. The average person is not going to operate well on just caffeine and nicotine blended together. But what I'm saying is it's also not strange. How many people do you know that are addicted to coffee and have a couple of coffees a day? How many people do you know that smoke? How many people do you know that do the OMAD diet, 1 meal a day? And then combine those 3 things together. A lot of people, if you look around Europe, Spain, Italy, France, you'll find people smoking cigarettes all day long and chugging back coffee with a trigger happy coffee hand daily. I was also looking at some research when combining caffeine and coffee, which I'll go into in a second. But when we look at those people who do smoke and drink coffee, more smokers than non-smokers are coffee drinkers, with about 86% of smokers and 77.2% of non-smokers reporting significant coffee consumption. Not only do smokers tend to drink caffeine and caffeine drinkers tend to smoke, these behaviors are often occur in the same time.
But if I don't eat, I'm like, maybe I wouldn't say angry, but I like to have that tinge of irritableness. Does that make sense? I don't know, maybe I sound crazy. It's how I get things done.
Where Tate references the hungry wolf, and he likes having that appetite and that built up hunger. This often goes back to evolution as well, and when we lived in the good old caveman times, because what people would often do is that they would get up, hunt, have to do something where maybe energy was higher, and before they felt that crash and lethargic from having a big meal, and they'd have to go and get after the food. They had to do something active in the morning. They had to earn the food. And that's essentially what he is doing in the day. He's getting the chunk and getting the things that he needs to get done in the first place before he then goes out and eats. We also look at, okay, well, how does he do OMAD every day? How does he wait until 6, 7 p.m. to have his first meal? Well, he's using 2 big components, nicotine and caffeine. We look at most fat loss pills, the main ingredient is usually caffeine. And then we mix these 2 together. I was looking at some research on this, and it was stating that nicotine suppresses appetite, increases metabolism, and also serves as a behavioral alternative to eating as a distraction from hunger or food craving. But then a study shows that when you use caffeine with nicotine, it actually heightens its effects. So it's essentially like pouring petrol on a fire. Having nicotine and caffeine together is going to massively suppress your appetite, which is why you can go hours upon hours upon hours in a day with nothing to eat until he needs to eat in the evening.
And eventually they did the biopsy, and they said, yeah, it's benign. Some lesion I might have had from when I had pneumonia when I was a kid, or something was benign. Right. But it was actually very refreshing to hear. I have zero smoking damage on my lungs, zero. I was like, there's zero? I mean, I'll accept a little bit. I'll take a little bit.
Obviously, in this clip, he's talking about how he's had tests done on his lungs and his lungs are actually in perfect condition. He was even surprised by this fact himself. But what I would argue is, do you want to look good until you need to stop and have chemo potentially? Or do you never want to put yourself in that position where you will need to have chemo? That is up to you, my friend. Because you can have a good life and a fast-paced life, or you can have a good life and a long life. There's always going to be sacrifice with either one. I think we probably look at a lot of people who work in high operating jobs and high stressful jobs and demanding jobs, and people within high status and power, potentially those people who work on Wall Street. These kind of diets have been done for years. People who just get up straight on black coffee or smoke during their lunch breaks and work breaks and then eat their tea when they get in. I don't think this diet is particularly uncommon. I just think the way that Tate potentially puts it across to a generation which operates a lot differently on fast-paced, easily accessible, hyper-palatable foods doesn't lend itself to the current society and culture that we find ourselves in. Tate also quotes from this video that he has 3 steaks per day and asks us to look at as our ancestral livers, or those people who lived in ancestral times. The only thing I would argue is, yeah, that's true, but we also only lived until we were 35. I said at the start of this video that I think it's fantastic. I obviously do not think his diet is fantastic. However, I do think it's suited to his lifestyle and what he is trying to get out of life at the moment. And this is what diets come down to. We need to think about, what is our end goal? What are we looking to achieve? Are we someone who's in his position, who's a fast-paced, high-value, high-status, needs to operate in an environment with high stress and big decisions? Or is your goal to build strength, muscle, to have a lifestyle balance? This is what your diet should be geared up to do. And obviously, what he's doing is working for him. Something to also think about is that if someone like this is having 3 cigars, 15 coffees, and 1 meal per day, and has better health markers than someone who is obese, fat, overweight, consuming lots of highly palatable, high sugar, high starch, high carbohydrate foods with poor biomarkers, then we need to think about how we really choosing our poison. Because there is absolutely no denying that the man is in some serious shape.